Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established." So that's what I try to do, is commit my work to the Lord. So good morning. It's still morning. I just watched, we had an evangelist at church this morning that I streamed, and young man, and he did real good. But anyway, we're going to talk about our high school reunion that I went to last night. James and I went. If y'all saw that little video and you see that man in that shiny shirt, his back kind of to you, that's number 3. And he loves sparkly things, and he has a ponytail, and he looks a little wild sometimes, but he's cute as he can be. He's just handsome to me. I think he's the best looking man I ever seen. I'll never forget when Karen, my daughter, come to meet him. We were having breakfast together when we were dating, and she was in for a little while. My daughter that was the school teacher, and I said, "Karen, I want you to meet James." So she came to meet him, and I said, "Isn't he so good looking?" And Karen said, "Mom, he's just another old man." That's the way she saw him. But you know, beauty is truly in the eyes of the beholder. And this morning, when I did not wear a bow or a scarf, he said, "No bow, no scarf." I said, "No, just plain Jane." And then I did a little video on it. But then I decided to come on over to my house, and I found this shirt yesterday at the thrift store for $2. And it is such a beautiful green, and I didn't have a green that'll match it that great, but does it blend okay? But it's got this, and you can tie this in a bow if you want to, I guess, or wrap it around your neck and do something with, I don't know. Well, you can flip it, and you know how I like to flip. Oh well. Hide my, what is it they call that? I forget. Anyway, we went to the reunion. It took about 40 minutes to get there, and my brother Norman was there, and my brother Denny, my brother David. Now, my brother David, I don't think he watches my YouTube, but even if he does, all right, so I'm going to say, he said to me, he was sitting right across from me, David was, and David said, "You never call me. You haven't called me." I said, "You haven't called me?" He said, "I don't have your phone number." I said, "My brother Denny has your phone number. My brother Norman has your phone number." Of course, I have David's phone number, but David is a Democrat, and I'm almost reluctant to talk to him because I'm going to brag on Trump, and David is going to badmouth Trump, because when I went to visit him 2 or 3 years ago, his wife has passed away. So I went to see him and visit with him, and he wanted to, I just can't talk about politics with him because he's such a strong Democrat. And when he badmouths who I really love, I don't want to listen to it. So I hadn't been back to see him, and I haven't phoned him. And it keeps things peaceful because I'm rather strong-minded at times. And that's a fact, Jack. So I'm going to be calling David, and I'm going to need prayer when I call David. But I'm going to call him, honey. I'm going to call you, honey. My brother Norman and my brother Denny and David, they were asked to say a word. So they started by the oldest people there. So there was one guy older than me. He's 93, and he was a pastor for years, and he sat right across from me, right beside David. And so he did the praying to open up things, and it was good. And then they came on down. Some other people spoke that were in different classes, but they said, "Who was in a class of the oldest?" And I said, "Well, I was in the class of," if I had graduated, I said, "I didn't graduate." but I would have been in the class of 52. They said, well, you're the oldest. Would you have a word? I said, you may be sorry you asked me. So I just had fun. I told them I was famous on YouTube. That's how I started. And I told them about how YouTube, I get to share about the Lord, and that some people are now walking the path where Jesus wants them to walk. And I hear things like that in comments. Grandma, I'm walking that path. And that's such good news to me. And so I just had a good time talking about my family. I introduced David. I said, that's my brother David, my brother Dennis and his wife. And my brother Norman had bought his daughter, Angie, his daughter Melody, and Melody's husband, who is Steve. And that's Steve. Let me tell you about Steve and Melody. They lived in Louisiana, and he was a big guy in oil. He was real well-to-do, and he made big money because he was offshore a lot. They used to drill offshore oil, and he worked for this big oil company. So they was going to this big Assembly of God church down in Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana. So when we went on the evangelistic field, Melody and her husband told Brother King, the pastor, and they gave him a cassette of Buddy singing, said, you've just got to, book Aunt Clarine's husband and Buddy Baird. And you know what? Brother King booked us. Nobody. We was nobody. Talk about God using somebody Brother King pointed out to us when we was there. He said, this is not a new thing that God picks somebody that is nobody. He did that all through the Old Testament. When he picked David, the shepherd boy, who was the youngest and nobody looked up to him or anything. Well, I had never taught Sunday school. All Buddy had done was sing, and he started studying the Bible like crazy when he was 46 years old or so. And he studied it he said, when he became a Christian, after I prayed for him 18 years, he started studying his Bible and trying to learn a little because he didn't know anything. And then when we started on the evangelistic field, he was 48 years old and I was 46. Our family was gone. They were married and living here, there, and yonder. Karen married a pastor. Well, and she married him when she was in college, and he was going to be a pastor. Her husband, Mike Brown, his daddy was a pastor, Methodist, and his grandfather was a pastor. His grandfather was a Methodist pastor that died in the pulpit preaching. What better place could you go? And so anyhow, he was served. But when she met Mike, and I'm going to put this in here, Karen was struck on this. When you say struck on somebody, this other guy really appealed to her. But she couldn't get him hardly. Us women choose who we want if we can get them a lot of times. So anyhow, Mike liked Karen. And they were going to have this dance, and Karen was hoping that Charlie would invite her. This is all years ago. But anyway, Karen and Mike have now been married 50 years. I couldn't believe it hardly. So when he didn't invite her, Mike says, you go to the dance with me? She said, okay, okay, because she did want to go to the dance. So she went with him. And I have told this before, but it's so funny. So they were dancing and Mike said, I know you like that Charlie. He said, I really like you, or something to that effect. He said, but if you're just using me to get him, he said, use me up. Now that's a deep thought, isn't it? So evidently her subconscious said okie dokie, because they started dating and they fell in love and got married. And they have 3 kids, and one of them is in the Air Force, and they got grandkids and been married 50 years. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah. The family, the church. It felt like church last night. And after everybody spoke, I just had to say, are we going to take up an offering? And it was going to take up an offering to benefit the high school reunion stuff, their bills. So they did. And I won a flower. That was just beautiful. But I'm going to give it to Karen. It's one of those little roses with, I should have brought it in and showed it to you. But they had a drawing. You got a ticket when you went in. And they had flowers and on each table, little bouquets, you know, like you get at the Walmart and places to give to your mother-in-law on Mother's Day and stuff like that. Real cute. And so I'm giving it to James, the secretary, because I don't water them. It's like little mini roses. I'm not good to water them, and if I water them too much and they die. I can only raise tomato plants, and they do great. So I got up and spoke, and I spoke good. I enjoyed it so much. I introduced my brothers and their wives, and the wonderful thing was this girl called Sheila, who I had not seen for probably 60 years, was married to my brother Aubrey that passed away a year or so ago, and I really liked Sheila very much. We were close, and her and Aubrey got a divorce. And I just missed her because we were close, and I had never seen her again. And of course, Aubrey married again, and she married again. Sheila did. And she's 77 years old now and looked gorgeous. I just couldn't believe, I just was so glad to see Sheila. We just got off aside and had a little reunion there, exchanging phone numbers, and she had pearls on. And they were like big, is that right there? Different colors. And of course, a lot of people don't know about pearls, but I do. And I said, Sheila, those are gorgeous pearls you have on. I should have took a picture of her, but I didn't. Darn. Shucks. I don't know. I was just so glad to see her. And we just had a good little reunion right there at the beginning. And her hair is so pretty. Oh, there comes James already. He knocks on that door when he comes in. Anyhow, I spoke, and I had a good time. I'm going to have to wind this down. I'll have to finish this whole story. I'm talking here to all my sweet subscribers, James. And I'm going to wind it down, so hang on. I'm going to have to fix him some lunch. Church is over, and this is a good day. Thank you all, everybody, for looking. It's 13 minutes. Make it 14 or whatever. And I'm done. Y'all walk that walk now where Jesus would be pleased with you. I've got more to tell. There is no end to what's going on. So as long as the Lord lets me, I'll be talking to you. Whoops. I like this. This is a pretty blouse. Love you. God bless you. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye-bye.